From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Riffs with your host, Keith Reza.
All right. Hey,
I want to
Carlos.
apologize on air because this for missing the other day, but I'm scatter-minded, so
Oh, don't worry
sorry,
about it.
folks expected this earlier. And it's Keith Reza. I used to know a guy named Reza in college, so that's why I got confused. I was like, wait a second. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to finally meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, don't worry about it, man. Like stuff happens, life happens. I understand. I'm like I'm one of those people when stuff happens, I'll just keep bugging you until we get it down. So,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
but hey, thanks for dropping the restraining order for this. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's
Ah,
lasts for 1 hour.
yeah. So this has nothing to do with you or anything, but I was you ever like go on the phone and you read like articles like, oh, 10 signs show you're unhappy, and you read it and you're like, oh my God, I have all these signs, but I'm actually very happy.
Yeah. Or I'm too unhappy to read it because it's just reminding me of how unhappy I am while I'm reading the list.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
life is a stand-up comic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to talk to you about your stand-up days because that's where you started, and
Yeah.
you won the San Francisco comedy competition, which is like one of the biggest comedy competitions in the world. And I wanted to know, like, how is that like?
That was pretty incredible. You know, I tried it once before, like in 1989, and it didn't do so well. I was persuaded to do it again, and it was better as a comic. I had traveled. I got some more, stage time under my belt, and it was pretty cool. I won it. I got all these phone calls. It was like a movie. These managers coming out of the woodwork, and I came to LA, and I was flavor of the month, and I had all these meetings with all the suits. I think I met. Rob Reiner at Castle Rock. We were setting
Uh,
up. I had Helen Hunt. I had her manager, so I met Gordon Hunt, her dad, and we set up all these meetings, and nothing really ever came through in terms of the big hit. But luckily, at the same time, I had Rocco going, and I had my animation going. So about a year later, I got on something called the Stephanie Miller Show. It was a sketch show, and I got to get some stuff under my belt doing that. But voiceover was really the thing that came out of stand-up. So winning the competition was great, but stand-up was, for me, was always a means to an end. I just wanted to use it to get to somewhere else.
yeah.
So nowadays, Mark Maron and Patton Oswalt, who were in that competition, those guys are the true stand-ups, right? They live, breathe, write it, love it. And for me, it was just like trying to show off some skills. So it was a great night for sure, and a great few months of feeling like on top of the world.
Yeah. So I became a fan of yours, and even though you're a veteran and stuff, our paths have never crossed. But I became a fan of yours because a couple of weeks ago, I was just randomly watching stuff on YouTube, and I saw your stand-up set on Gabriel Gelsos's
Oh,
Stand Up
yeah.
Revolution, and
Yeah.
I thought it was the funniest set ever. And I was like, oh, dude, I would love to talk to this guy. And then I Googled you, and like all this stuff comes up. So I was like, holy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird thing because I would tour as Garcia, tours as a stand-up comedian for Garcia from Reno 911, and people thought I was just an actor, that I couldn't, one of these actors that was trying to be a stand-up,
Yeah.
and I would get these looks from feature acts like, who's this guy? It's like, I've been a comic for 20-something years, man. So I was able to handle myself and do really well. And yeah, there's times where I will do stand-up locally or for a benefit or to help somebody out. I just went to the new Ice House in Pasadena. They redid it, and it's
Oh, dude, it looks
amazing.
so beautiful. Yeah.
It's incredible. Vargas Mason set up a show, and I said I'd come back here to do a show with the green
Yeah.
room, with the two-way glass. You can hear the audience. You get food. There's a place for comics. They really made it for comics.
Yeah.
And I go, this is what every comedy club should be. And I definitely go back there again. I love Flappers. We used to do a show called I Know That, or We Talk Funny, and it was voiceover actors doing stand-up. And you had an audience that already loved you. It was almost like being at a con. So, it's a lot easier than going over the hill on a Friday night, late show at the Improv following 10 pros in a row. It's a much more relaxed atmosphere. So there's times where I'll still get out there and do it again, but I just love doing voiceover. I've loved being able to do Reno, some small roles in films, some, live appearance stuff. I just recently did something with the Tin Can Brothers. Their show is called Spies Are Forever. They have a cult following, and I got to do a guest number, and that scared me. But I like to be able to do different things. So, yeah. But I think a career in stand-up was what prepared me for everything else. Same with Tom Kenny. If you ask Tom would rather perform with his band than do stand-up again. He's pretty much done with stand-up, you know. And he and Goldthwait came up right at the same time. Bobcat, you know, Bobcat directs and still does stand-up. But Tom is like, I don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way.
It's kind of one of those weird questions because people either answer like that, like once they did it and they found success outside of it, they don't want to go back to it. But then like guys, because you know, maybe it was just how I was trained because I toured with Norm Macdonald for 9 years.
Yeah.
So like I was like, you know, Norm just wanted to do stand up. So that's all I want to do, you know. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I get that, and I admire it, and I like that I was in the Army. You know, I have it in my infantry tags. I served on the front lines of comedy, as you know, and I'll always be proud of that. And so I'm fascinated by comics. You know, going to see, he did a movie for me, Brett Ernst, who's a friend of Sebastian
He's so
Maniscalco.
funny.
And Brent, you know, and I went to watch him perform, and Sebastian was there that night, and Sebastian went up in the Improv with like 30 people to watch him in a small group, to watch Maria Bamford, to watch Jackie Cashian I saw perform the other night. I'm like, Jackie is so naturally funny, a gifted storyteller. I grew up in stand-up comedy, 1987, San Francisco. Laurie Kilmartin, met her at Club Remy on Union Street. All these years later, she's 5 houses down from me on the same street. You know, watching her, watching Jackie, watching Maria Bamford, watching Bill Burr in a small room, watching comics get nervous, watching new comics.
Yeah.
And going, this person's not going to make it. This person will make it. This person is confident. This person is themselves. This person's faking it.
Can you tell by that?
You can tell. You can see and you can watch who's got it and who's just them. And Patton was always Patton.
Right.
Mark Maron was always Mark. I was somebody that wanted to be like everybody else in San Francisco. And I bled off parts of everybody that I liked. Warren Thomas, Tom Kenny, Rob Schneider, Margaret Gomez, all these people that I could just pick and choose where I wanted to go with. Mike Meehan was a brilliant comedian. Jeremy Kramer. Of course, Robin was passing through. Michael Pritchard, David Feldman, Larry Bubbles Brown. You know, I wanted to be all of those.
Bubbles is still doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob Rubin. The old Rubes in town. You know, that was nice. I was impressed by all of those people and wanted to be Stephen Pearl. So I was derivative of a lot of people, and I got skills. I got voices. I got characters. I can act. So I made it work.
Yeah.
But I love watching pure stand-ups do their stuff. The funnest, the most fun shows I ever had. I met Todd Rex at Cabo Comedy Festival. I'd never seen him perform, and I was with John Fugelsang and Tom Frickman, 2 guys that I know. We're in Cabo. Skylar Stone went up and did a set in a bar in Cabo, and it was really good. He really kind of turned the... And then Todd Rex came up, and I was laughing out loud. This jaded comic who'd been in the business for 30 years, laughing out loud at just watching somebody, because Todd is just so himself. Opened for Craig Robinson. Just a dad. He's got kids. He's been through it all, and he's just him, and he was just cracking me up. So we booked, maybe 3 times we would book co-headliner shows, and I always hated following him at Flappers, but he would sit on the corner booth, and we would just, you know, shit with each other and have fun with each other. And I miss those types of shows. I don't miss following Orny Adams or Dave Chappelle at the Improv on a late show, you know. Yeah. Those are tough.
Orny Adams is really tough to follow.
Orny's just a crusher.
Yeah.
And he's so him.
Yeah.
You guys, doesn't that piss you off? That pisses you off, right? God, what's going on? He's got that Boston thing happening. And he's such a caricature and a real character that's hard to follow in a 10-minute set.
Oh, no, definitely.
I don't miss that. I don't miss following features that kill on a second show with 2 bachelorette parties on the road. It's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I did a show in Paso Robles with my buddy Tom McLean and Molly McGee maybe a year ago in June, and that was fun. It was a 45-minute set above a restaurant, good crowd. I said, yeah, I can headline 1 show. But I could tell halfway through that set, I couldn't do this for 3 days in a row.
Oh, yeah.
I get too bored. I'm not prolific enough. So I had the set in my head. I pulled out some old stuff. I riffed a couple of things. As you know, stand-up's great when it's great. But when you have to work at it, I don't want to work at it.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know?
maybe it's different because like me, I'm just a stand-up. You're an actor and a voice actor, so
Yeah.
like you have more skills than I do. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but it's relative because Patton has skills as an actor and a voice actor, right? Tom Kenny has skills, and he was always a great stand-up. Mark Maron's obviously a wonderful actor, but yeah, in that sense, I can fall back on what I really was always good at, which was mimicry and imitating and finding voices. And there's one voice, and I can't believe this show premiered. It's on Netflix. I think it's called Godcat or Exploding Kittens, based on the game.
okay.
I think it premiered November on Netflix. I think it's still on. And I played Chorgle, an animatronic Louisiana restaurant rat.
Yeah.
And I used Ed Orgeron from LSU. He's a football coach. And that felt like stand-up because it felt like a character that you would see and want to do. And he talked like this, and LSU's got a good football team. We are behind at the half, but I believe in LSU. We're going to come back in the fourth quarter. So I bled that into a character, and that's where stand-up helped, where
Yeah.
I would want to find something funny and unique to me and share it, so that I couldn't share it with a live audience, but I could share it with these producers, and they're going, that voice is kind of fake sounding. I'm going, it's not. It's a real guy.
Yeah.
You got to look him up.
How do you like transition each voice that you do? Because every voice is different. So like you must have a million ideas how you transition to find uniqueness, right?
Yeah, how can you give it? I do this rock, paper, scissors, and it's really popular with kids. Written by John and Kyle. I forget John and Kyle's last names. They're brilliant. They wrote on Brickleberry. But it's on Nickelodeon with Ron Funches, great stand-up. Tom Lennon, who also, when he wants to, is a fantastic stand-up. But scissors is kind of mean. Like, oh, come on, guys. This is not fair. We can beat the Rat Brothers. Oh, this is dumb. And that's the hardest voice for me to find because it's a version of me. But it's not Mr. Clucker, Timmy Turner.
Or it's not Rocco, who's
Yeah.
like this little wallaby.
It's not a caricature. It's kind of me and a real guy. Oh, my arm or something. He's just got an attitude. He's got a slight innocence. He's a little acerbic, but you got to like him. So that's tricky for me. There's a job I've had since 2001, which is imitating, doing all the sound like and toys and games for Monsters, Inc.
Right.
And also the scratch for Monsters at Work, and it's the template is, of course, Billy Crystal. And if you're feeling off voice, I would have this thing from Forget About Paris, which is how I learned how to do his voice, called "You're married, you're married," and that would always get me back if I was getting too muppety. You got to get right here. Come on, Roz, are you kidding me? Instead of "Come on, Roz, are you kidding me?"
So you can offshoot a little bit, then you have that little word that brings you back, and the difference between
Rocco, hello, Spunky. Laszlo, hey, Scoutmaster Lumpus. And Spyro the Dragon is attitude. They're all really coming out of here. And it's in the
Right.
same neighborhood.
the pilot from Inside Out, "Come, fly with me, cachinha," is basically "Yo quiero Taco Bell." Anger inside fear inside the dad's head. "Sir, we're detecting a high level of sass. The foot is down. The foot is down." From Inside Out is Garcia from Reno 911. "Get down." No, get down. And there's slight, subtle differences, but
Yeah.
you're borrowing from the same octave in the same neighborhood. And, but I had templates growing up, my hearing Spanish accented being spoken in the home from Argentina, from Peru, from Spain. My best pals from Glasgow, Kevin, and hearing him talk to his son Kevin and Anne, and being there 5 days a week, listening to that, so there's all kinds of training and influence that come, and then you just refine it,
Does it ever confuse you? Like, because you've done so much voices, does it ever confuse you? Like, for example, when they pay you, that you forget that you did it? Because
yeah.
it's like my uncle's Patrick Warburton, and he does a lot of voices, and he just forgets he does some stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Patrick's great. I actually did a little a pilot presentation with him about an auto shop.
Oh, nice.
He's really gifted, obviously, and yeah, he's just got that thing, a national rental car. Well, I want that car, and I want it now. Yeah, you can get lost, you can get off track, but there's you work with other professionals that you have to keep up with, so that kind of forces you to be on your game. Mr. Crocker has a lot of Montgomery Burns in him. Hello,
Right.
Smithers. Revenge is a dish best served cold. So I have to make sure I keep him up here. Otherwise, or if I slow him down, it could start to sound a lot like Smithers. So I gotta put that Gene Wilder in there, put that Richard Dreyfuss in there, and that kookiness, Mother Timmy. keep it higher.
When you did the Taco Bell commercials, did they do you get free Taco Bell? Like, how does that work?
Oh, back in the day, I just asked for a lot of swag, so stuffed dolls and magnets and calendars and what have you. I never asked for free food. That was a tricore. That was Pepsi, KFC, and Taco Bell. Still a three-way company, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I went into Pizza Hut and they service. They were Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Taco Bell, and Pepsi. So four-core. Those were some of my favorite commercials, actually. The one where they're with Colonel Sanders and they're walking up through a desert and an army of droids comes over the hill about to attack them, and he looks up at Colonel. So you're a real colonel, right? Yeah. That Taco Bell voice was fun. I got a lot of swag, but I never got free food. I did the voice once.
Wow.
Going through a drive-through, my friend persuaded me to do it, and it was lost on the employee. They didn't know. They didn't care.
I've never done any commercial, but Norm was the KFC colonel for a while, and they gave him like a whole bunch of credit cards, and when you swipe it, all your food was for free. And he gave me one of their cards. So for a year I got free KFC until he stopped being the guy. Then they canceled him. But
then it's Jim Meskimen now for a long time.
Yeah, they should bring that back for guys like you, like the original, voice.
Even back then in the 90s, there was sort of quote unquote what we call political correctness or wokeness, right? There was people that had problems that it was a Chihuahua. Why does it have to have a Latino voice? And we went through all of that stuff even back in the 90s. So I think it would be pretty hard to bring it back now in today's climate,
Yeah, that's true. And then I also read that you auditioned for Mario. Is that true?
I think back in the day, yeah. Of course, it's the wonderful Charles Martinet, who I had do the voice for my kids. He's a number one. You are number one. Wahoo! I had to go to L.A. Comic-Con to do it live while working all these joysticks because Charles needed a break because it was 8 hours a day on the floor. And all I could do was just go, wahoo! It's an O'Brien. Am I a Luigi? I'm a Luigi. I don't know. And it's like, I can't be Charles Martinet, So I did audition. I auditioned for Ren and Stimpy. That was one of my first things coming from San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
And, Chris Falusi at that time was having his problems, and so they were looking for a Ren. You idiot, Stimpy, you idiot. You worm! $10,000! And I was really green. I wasn't really good at it. I was too young in the business to nail that job.
Yeah. Do you think that when you started, it was really hard with voice acting because not a lot of people did it or knew about it, but now people teach classes how to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was starting raw in a sense, but he obviously had Jess Harnell and Tress McNeil and Rob Paulson and all those people doing Animaniacs at the same time. But yeah, Tom Kenny and I were green, and the true story, which is out there and Tom knows and jokes that I should get some SpongeBob money, is that we couldn't find Heifer for Rocco, and I suggested Tom Kenny come in and audition, and of course the rest is history, right? Yeah. But we were both really green the first time we stepped on the set to Rocco and found out we were going to series. We were working with Charlie Adler, who's brilliant and Broadway guy, so facile at voices. Tom and I were just like, holy shit, we don't know what we're doing.
But it was perfect for Rocco because he was like, I hope you like me. I hope I can keep my job.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I hope I'm doing a good job. I think I am. We were both nervous and it both fit our characters, but we had a lot to learn on that first series. And then we worked on Cat Dog with Jim Cummings and Dwight Schultz, and Maria Bamford became a part of that. Billy West was on that show, so we were working. And then I got into Fairly Odd Parents and working with heavyweights. Pull me up, guys, pull me up.
Yeah,
like a comic. You're working with stronger comics, you got to up your game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wanted to also ask you. on Frank Walker, who's like one of the best.
Welker, yeah.
Walker, yeah, he's one of the best voice artists ever.
Yeah.
Like, have your pass ever run with him?
Oh yeah, on Scooby Doo, on Curious George, super nice guy, just so gifted. And yeah, I remember doing a Scooby Doo with Casey Kasem.
Yeah.
And watching him in his late age go, I don't know, Zoink Scoob, we better get out of here, man.
It's like, holy yeah. And I used to skydive with Casey Kasem's daughter. She was dating somebody on the drop zone. I was like, it was Carrie Kasem, that was her name.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, it's so weird. And then working with Frank on Scooby Doo and just watching him work, and like, that's Fred. I grew up with Freddie.
Yeah.
And he still looks great, and he still flies his little planes, I think, and he's amazing. Frank Welker's amazing.
It's one like so like I would be very intimidated working with like a legend like that, and then
Yeah.
he sees me work. It's like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I would
Well, you
just
work with a comic legend, right? Norm
Yeah.
Macdonald, probably one of the top 100 comics, you could argue,
yeah.
if not top 50 comics we've ever had. Canadian, right?
But I don't do voice. But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't do voice stuff. So like I would be very intimidated.
If I
Like
were
even
coaching
even
you,
around you, I'd be like, holy Lord.
But if I were coaching you, I would go, I have a weird neighbor that lives next door, and he's always looking at my house, and his line is, hey, what's going on? You guys want to come over for a barbecue? And I'd go, do it like Norm Macdonald. So I would make you do it like Norm.
Hey, what's going on? You guys want to come over for a barbecue?
So is that Norm spot on? Probably in the neighborhood, but if it's not, it's an original character.
Right.
So you don't think you can do a character, but now you just did one because you're stretching to fit into somebody, Do it like Patrick Warburton now. Say, if you don't get off my lawn, I'm going to kick your ass. And it's not going to be a perfect Patrick Warburton, but it's going to be in that neighborhood. So that Crocker, I tell people, is not a perfect Montgomery Burns. That's Harry Shearer. It's not a perfect Gene Wilder. Sedative! It's not a perfect Richard Dreyfuss. You said, Shark, this thing is going to eat all of us. But if you blend all three of them together, I've got an original character. Timmy Turner, fairies! So you can derive from voices you can almost do. So you can imitate Norm. You can imitate Patrick. You can imitate a guy at 7-Eleven that's just like, hey, what's up, man? Sorry, we're out of Slim Jims, but you can just take an extra corn nuts if you want. You're a stand-up. You go on the road. You see characters. You see a guy come up to you after a show and go, dude, your act was so good. Hey, you want?
I also get it. Dude, your act was terrible.
Yeah. I've gotten that. Right in front of me, like they're fawning over the feature and like, dude, that headliner sucked. And it's like, he's right here.
Yeah. Oh man. Are we good on time or?
No, that's I don't have my watch, so I'm not able to shut off phone. Sorry.
No.
We are good on time. But yeah, so you can do characters. You can learn how to make your own stuff. Like Ed Orgeron, I didn't know. I can always do Red Fox, you big dummy. I'm a 5 across your lips. We're not too far from Ed Orgeron. It's just the same ballpark. But it is, when I see him, when I do that character, I look at it, I'm pretending that I'm him, that I look like him, that I'm in front of a microphone, and that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about,
Now when I do, Monsters, Inc.,
at first I was like, I got to learn Billy Crystal. Now Billy Crystal pitches his voice to do Mike Wazowski.
now after hundreds of hours, I just see this little green guy doing this like, oh, come on. Give me a break. We got to get out of here, Sully.
I see it in my head, and I'm not even thinking about it anymore. So it's just repetition. So it's all possible. You see it first, and then it's just pretending. You're pretending to be somebody else from the inside out. You see that. If I do my friend Kevin's dad, I'll have that face. Like, it remember what it looked like when you looked at me. And so I think that I'm John speaking. And that helps me just spit it from the inside out, right? You physicalize it first. Everybody that does the De Niro, I hear things. They make the face.
Yeah.
Whoa, here we are. You make that face. You get into that position, and it spits it out. Where it's a giant wind instrument.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you about Rugrats because I heard you wrote a couple episodes.
I might have had some writing credits on Rocco for suggesting storylines, but I don't believe I wrote any Rugrat episodes.
Oh, okay.
So that might be a wives' tale.
That's a wives' tale then. What was it like for the storylines for Rocco then? How was that?
There was a bowling one where they go bowling and something about a 7-10 split. And I said we should make one of the bowling balls, the painting from the Norwegian painting, the Scream.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, you stick your hands in the. So they borrowed that little gag, and they borrowed a little bit of the storyline, and they gave me a writer's credit.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And then you also wrote Witness Infection.
Yeah, with Jill Michelle Leon, with Brett Ernst,
Yeah.
aforementioned.
Jill's one of my favorite stand-ups. I think she's hilarious.
She's great. She's
Yeah.
wonderful. And she's the same. She's like, for both of us, like, stand-up was like a means to an end. She's directing things now. But we co-wrote that, and my wife and I decided we're going to finance it. She knew Brett. I knew Ellen. I knew Erin Hayes. I met her on Kevin Can Wait on the pilot. She was available. Tara Strong, Maurice LaMarche, Vince Donvito. We met Rob Belushi. I met Rob at a commercial acting workshop that he was teaching with Tim, his partner. And I asked him to be in the film. So we just cast our friends. We wrote it. We cast it we directed it. My friend Andy Palmer directed it. We found the locations and we did it.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write a script like that?
You know what? It took us from start to finish about 3 months.
Oh, nice.
Until we had a really nice draft. We had a table read. Yeah, we started in March, April, May, June. Actually, 5 months. And, well, that was the second draft. And then we made a few adjustments. Andy went through it and did a director's pass. And when we shot it, like that December.
Oh, nice. So because usually it takes like 3 years to make a movie. You did it in less than a year.
Because we financed it. We
Oh,
self-financed.
nice.
That's why.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Was it hard, like finding self-finance investors?
Yeah. I had some stuff putting away. We got a few loans. We did some Kickstarter stuff, but the majority of it was me. And I said, what the hell? This is a passion project. I want to do this. I want to say that I made a movie.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I'll ever see that money coming back, but a little bit trickles in, and I enjoyed doing it. And so I'm still fine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it. I don't think I would do one again. I'd probably do a short film. As a matter of fact, we did do a short film that we're working on. And hopefully that'll be out soon. It involves a autobiographical piece along with the actual movie that's coming out. It's called Mr. Big, based on my father-in-law writing a movie as a 13-year-old child with a friend and never getting to make that movie. And then 63 years later or whatever, I'm saying, hey, do you want to make this movie with real actors? And he's like, yes, let's do it. And so that was the human interest story.
Oh, nice.
That side of it, and we actually shot the movie that he wrote as a 13-year-old in the Bronx.
Oh, that sounds very fun.
Yeah, so my wife and I financed that as well. It's a little bit cheaper than the feature.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like doing those things, and Witness Infection was great. I really wrote well with Joe. We've written another script that we're trying to throw out there. It's more of a comedy, more of a family comedy. This one, Witness Infection, if you haven't seen it, go out and see it. It's fun. It's free on Tubi, but if you want to pay me, it's on Amazon, I think, for $3.99. I think it's still on there.
Yeah, we want to pay you.
Pay me. It's really fun. It's 82 minutes long.
I think that's a perfect time for a movie, like the 82, 90-minute vibe. Yeah.
Here's the story. Get in, get out. We were very heavily influenced on the storylines of Shaun of the Dead and tried to make it a story where the characters had an arc.
Yeah.
And, they start out like this, and then they have to go through this journey where there's poison sausage and things are turning into zombies, and they have to navigate their way through it with all their foibles and insecurities. And will they win in the end? We'll see.
Yeah. All right. And then I wanted to ask you about Reno 911 because that's like a big show, you know?
Yeah.
I mean? So
that was it came out of, I was doing stand-up on the road and doing a little bit of voiceover work. I remember we did that pilot in December. I want to say we auditioned in December of 2000. I met Ben, Tom, and Carrie at an audition for something called Ugly Americans, a sketch show.
Yeah.
First, I was too old, and Julie Ashton agreed to see me, and I did it. They liked me. Then I go to studio. Then I go to network. We pass. We do a table read. Gail Berman passes on the show. Ben, Tom, and Carrie said, we still have some time left. We're going to make fun of cops. Go home and think about a character. I said, all right. Kind of a Barney Fife, uptight asshole, sense of justice, self-loathing Latino, James Osvaldo Garcia. Let's see how that works out. Never had to audition as the character. Beth McCarthy from SNL shows up at the Sunset Studios. We start rehearsing these little improv scenes, and off we went. Did the pilot in San Pedro in 2001. Fox passed on the pilot, and then it sat there for about a year and a half. Comedy Central bought it. We reshot it scene for scene, and then they picked it up, and we went to series in 2003.
Now, would you say like Broken Lizard kind of like, I don't know, got their ideas from you guys in a way?
I think it was simultaneous. I think we had the first Reno pilot was shot in 2001. I think Super Troopers came out in 2002, just before Reno 911 did. So there was always that who emulated who copied, and I think it was just similar ideas. And Super Troopers, it was a different kind of movie. We were a more of a sketch broad comedy series,
Yeah.
But I know Steve Lemmy's actually also part Argentinian, like I am. So I often message him on Instagram, especially when Argentina won the World Cup. But no, I always appreciated their take on it. I liked it. It was dark and fun and weird. But Reno it's its own entity. It's just nothing. There was nothing like it at the time.
Yeah.
The Office did come along right simultaneously. I remember Michael Jan. Michael Jan was a big fan of The Office and introduced us to the British Office while we were shooting. He said, you got to check out the show called The Office with Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what we're doing, but on a sort of a deeper, more wonderful level. But Reno it's a good show. If you go back and watch.
It's a binge-worthy show, too.
It really is good. We really had lightning in a bottle with each other, with our chemistry, with what we were doing, the way we were doing it. Ben, Tom, and Carrie with their headphones on, and Michael Patrick Jan just watching a scene going, okay, hold on, time out. Take this out, take this out, put this together, get there faster, do it again. Oh, awesome, got it, moving on. There was no notes, there was no suits to get in the way. They just let us do what we do.
And I wanted to ask you about Nick Swartzen, because that was one of his first projects, and he was a stand-up at the time.
Yeah.
So how, because now you watch him, he's funny in everything he does.
Yeah.
And then that was his first thing. So how was that, watching that?
We cracked up together. He would always crack me up when we did our Terry scenes, and we were both a little bit green in that style of acting and that style of improv. We wanted to get the laughs as opposed to have a scene happen. But Terry was fine. He was fearless, obviously, Nick Swartzen. And he really grew into it. And then in the feature, Paul Rubens is his dad. It's my dad. And he got way more confident as it went on. It was a really relaxed environment to be in, We would allow for each other to screw up and not worry about it. But he was great. All that stage presence as a comic, when you have to hold a crowd, that's good training. It really is.
But it's also because like I said before, you could be a great stand-up. It doesn't necessarily mean you're good for the TV, and vice versa. You could be great on the TV and not necessarily good at stand-up. I don't know if you've ever seen Jeremy Piven's act, but you know what I mean? He's great on the TV.
He's more of an actor than he's a stand-up because his voice is not there.
Yeah.
I don't think stand-ups needed to be stand-ups. They needed it. It was what I did to survive. I remember in Albuquerque, New Mexico, sleeping on the couch at Laughs in Albuquerque. I remember all these shitty one-nighters and driving and getting lost in college. I was in the 750 Club when I did colleges. I drove with a freaking almanac because there was no GPS back then, and a box of pizza heading from Alabama into another state, trying to make it to the next gig. So that built a lot of character. But
was that scary at all? Because I cannot imagine without GPS.
Stopping at payphones, calling for directions.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what we did back in those days. But yeah, because Pivens was trying to do it to rescue his career, I think, and
that was just one example. I didn't mean to pick on Jeremy Piven.
No,
I was just
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he can execute because he's a great actor, right?
Yeah.
But there's something that when a stand-up truly gives of themselves, like a Bill Burr, it's really engaging. It's so fun to watch. Sebastian, has captured that lightning in a bottle. Even Brian Regan, who's not really telling you stuff about himself, but he kind of is. He's just telling you, I'm a dick. I make mistakes. You've got that cockiness sitting in the back. You're the hump guy. Hump guy.
Yeah.
There's something honest about it. And conversely, Brian wasn't able to translate that into a sitcom, you know?
For
So
louder milk,
funny.
yeah.
But how do you make that work in a sitcom, you know? Even Sebastian trying a sitcom out as well. You know, Adam Ferrara. Remember Adam?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good. But yeah, there are some actors that try it because they figure I can act like a stand-up, but it doesn't have the weight behind it.
Yeah.
We really need to see my best stand-up, ironically, is about the time that I didn't want to do it anymore, was when I had kids and I'm married and I'm older and I'm not trying to impress you anymore. I'm just talking about shit that bugs me or my failings as a parent. And it's interesting. I would do stuff in in clubs about my kid falling off the bed when she was 5 months old, where she hits her head, and I extrapolate it into a scene where I have a fantasy where she's 15 years old and ends up in a wheelchair because I wasn't looking. I was going to be a ballerina, but because of your negligence, I am painting kittens through a straw. And parents will laugh at that. But people under 30 who have never had kids are so fucking judgmental. Oh my God, that's dark. It's like parents are like, dude, my kid fell down the stairs. I ran over my kid with my van. They get it. You're a parent. You're gonna fuck up. Your kid's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
It's so interesting what material can fly with what audience.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think like especially in today's, PC type culture, it really depends because like I have a dark joke where I say my dad always told me to go outside and play and always go into a white van. So like, it's
Yeah.
very dark, but like some people will love it and then some people are like, "Oh my God, your dad is really that crazy?" It's like, no, it's a joke. You know what I mean?
It's a joke, and even if it's a joke and it's not based on an actual truth, it's still take it. I remember doing one about with my wife. We were married. We were not married at the time. We were at Balboa Park in Burbank and rollerblading on the paths outside the outskirts of the park by these pine trees, and there was an ice cream truck idling, playing a weird version of "It's a Small World." Bling bling bling, bling 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 bling. And then at the end of the song, it would go bling, 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 boing. I go, here's a windowless van idling on the outskirts of a bike trail with the sound of the pedophile's erection once the child is trapped in the van. Boing. And it's dark. And now that I have kids, I don't know that I can do that anymore because I have kids. But it was what I felt. It's like, why do you have this creepy ice cream van with the sound of this boing? That's what I saw.
Yeah.
Really dark, but now I can get how it would be too much to handle for people with kids because it changes. You change once you have a kid.
Humor changes too the older you get too. So
yeah, and I agree. Bill Burr's right. It's like you can do what you want. Nobody's telling you what to do and what you can't do. Do what you want and let the chips fall where it does. Just do it. And then if somebody doesn't like it, fuck them.
That's true.
He's
So
really
Carlos,
right about that.
I
know your audience,
Yeah. So I have 3 more questions for you. I want to respect your time. Have you ever done books on tape?
I haven't. The aforementioned Jim Meskimen, who does Colonel Sanders, he does quite a bit of them. It's a skill. It doesn't pay as well as regular animation. And I don't know that I have the crisp reading voice for it. I would love to do books on tape with characters. The guy that won an Emmy for Harry Potter was doing, "Hello, Harry. It's me, Hagrid. I hope you come around, but I don't know if I should go in there. Don't worry, Harry. You're going to be all right." I would love to do something like that.
That's what I meant, yeah.
If I wrote a book, I would read it, for sure.
Yeah.
I would read it as me. But I've never done one, and it's hard work. You have to have patience.
Yeah.
Because you have big, long passages. You have to have patience and have somebody that's a great editor. I'm reading Frankenstein to my daughter right now, the classic Mary Shelley book. She's 12. And even reading that, because it's so dense, I go too fast and I make mistakes. And it's, how do I make that engaging, to a 12-year-old? This is just like, I want to watch TV,
Yeah.
If you read something that's with the right audience, then you have a shot. But it's tough to do. So I have not done one yet.
It seems like you're right. It's very tough, but it also seems like it's one of the most thrilling things if you could accomplish it. You know what I mean?
And if you love the subject matter, I would. For me, I love the book Frankenstein. I hadn't read it until I was an adult just recently. I remember watching the versions of it, and the Robert De Niro's version and parts of Penny Dreadful came close to depicting what that story's all about and what the creature is all about and the sadness of it and the cruelty of it. It's really good. Whoever's listening, go get Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, whatever version you get. It's so good. It's so sad. It's cruel. It's fascinating. It's scary.
Dark too.
It's wonderful. But so something like that, I would love to read that on tape.
And then my second to last question, would you do you ever teach voice acting? And if not, would you ever consider doing it?
I have done voice acting. I've done some individual coaching. I've done Sausalito Voice Tracks West in Sausalito through DPN, Samantha Paris. I've taught a class there where I did that drill where I had somebody who was really strong at characters and somebody who's like, I just do my own voice. And I both had them read the same piece of copy. And it was called You Do Me, the euphemism. Yeah. So they would each copy each other and it would each pull them towards a different direction that they didn't know they had. And so I would do drills like that. I would read copy. I would coach them on where I thought the copy was real, where they were pushing too hard. So yes, I have done it and I would entertain doing it again. It's fun.
Yeah, cool. Well, if you ever do it again, let me know. I would love to take the class.
Okay, absolutely.
And then my last question for you, Carlos, is if you could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself and tell yourself what you know now, what advice would you tell yourself?
Oh, gosh. Just in a broad strokes, don't try to be like everybody else or don't try to be liked.
Yeah.
Because that's what got me into stand-up. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be above my problems, right? I went skydiving for 15 years because that was another version of that. I can cheat death, So I would go to myself and do what makes you afraid, enjoy other people, watch them, learn from them, but just try to be yourself as quickly as you can. And that's what I do with my daughters and my kids, because my daughter will have fears. Oh, they're going to think this. And I'm like, oh, God. She is my younger self, right? They are my two daughters are my younger self. So I'm like, just go. Don't worry about it. Just go for it.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes. Jump in the ocean. The wave knocked you down. Get back in and jump in again. You're going to be fine. So that's what I would tell myself is I spent so much time really wanting to be, Patton Oswalt and Mark Maron and be at that level of fame. And why can't I be like Adam Sandler, and why can't I that's like, oh, it's just noise.
Yeah.
That's not what you are. You're this. And so that has been going on since I was a kid. And I would go back and tell myself that. Just be you. Just go for it.
Because you, I feel, is always more successful than them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel people don't understand that.
I think somebody who's done a really good example of that is Bert Kreischer. Bert is just Bert.
Yeah.
Loves life, loves to party, loves to do what he does, connecting with people on that level, on a deeper level on his podcasts, but he's just him. He's just, I'm going to be Bert. I'm just going to go out. I love football. I'm going to throw a football. I'm going to party. I'm going to drink. I'm going to do an ice bath. And it's fun to watch. And now I realize if I were to go on that type of tour, I was like, I couldn't hang with those guys. I'm not going to try to be that. Yeah. I'm not that. Like, you go do your things. I'll go up on stage and do my stuff. And I'm just, who was good at that was Michael Thompson from the LA Lakers. He was from was it Barbados with Tim Duncan, where Tim Duncan is from? But he would just know that all the Lakers would go out and party. It was showtime. He's like, nope, that ain't for me. So being comfortable in your shoes, that's the greatest advice you could go back and tell your younger self. Just don't worry about it. Just be you.
Exactly. And then where can the folks at home follow and support you at?
On TikTok, on Instagram, at Carlos Alazraqui, both handles. On Twitter is where I get more political. I do the Stephanie Miller Show once a week. Stephanie Miller, DirecTV channel 368 or 348. But that's on weekly. Every Wednesday I do Pacific time 8 to 9. But I'm mostly on Instagram posting about where I'll be convention-wise. If you want to come out and meet me in person, I have a list on Instagram. And that's mainly it. No live appearances for stand-up yet, but if I do, that'll be on Instagram and TikTok.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Carlos, thank you so much for talking to me. It was good to meet you, man. And I hope our paths, run in the comedy circuit because, like I said, I'm a fan of yours. I thought that set was just genius. So
Thank you. I can be goaded into doing a set somewhere, benefit, especially at the Ice House.
yeah.
So,
All
I
right.
love it. Thanks,
Well,
Keith. Good-
let me know when you're at the Ice House. I'll come support you, man.
All right, Keith, likewise. And congrats on opening all those years for such a legend, man. It's awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, Carlos. Well, have a great day, buddy.
All right, you too.
All right, guys. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Raise the Riffs.